Welcome to Unlearning with Laura, the podcast where you get to rewire your mind, reclaim your power, and break generational cycles. I'm Laura Stiles, clinical hypnotherapist and mindset coach, and founder of The Mindful Generation, the place where parents come to transform their lives and live with more purpose and freedom. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Jodi Clark, a business coach and founder of Sober Flourish, a fast-growing community for alcohol-free women who are done playing small. After spending over 20 years in the corporate world and navigating her own grey area drinking, Jodi took a 100-day break from alcohol that completely changed the course of her life. Since then, she's lost 84 pounds, left her corporate career and built a business that supports women to create alcohol-free lives and businesses that feel clear, consistent and deeply aligned. Her signature programs, 100 Days to Flourish and the Flourish Collective, have helped hundreds of women reconnect with their power and build purpose-led lives without alcohol holding them back. You're going to love this one. Here we go. Hi, Jodi. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I know we were just having a brief chat there about children and business and all sorts of things, and I thought I would dive straight in asking you how things are going with, children finishing school, because at the time of recording we're about to hit the summer holidays. This is going to go out a little bit later, but yeah, how old are your children and how's it going with the juggle and that kind of thing?
So I have Ollie, who is 7, he'll be 8 this year, and then I've got Dexter, who is 15.
Okay.
16 in April. So you're going to know that the summer holidays are on the way. But if you're anything like me, I kind of push it to the back of my mind as much as possible until it kind of hits me in the face. I'm like, no, you need to do something about this now. We need to make some plans. We need to try and make it a bit of fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely like that. Yeah.
And again, I think we were just chatting about, weren't we, about the age difference as well. It's right, okay, what is going to actually be fun for both of them at 7 and 15, and trying to avoid Dexter being in his room on his PlayStation or editing videos for bloody TikTok. And then making sure that Ollie isn't just, I don't know, playing football relentlessly in the garden. That's all he wants to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to get out and about and do a few things. But I didn't. It kind of came like a blooming freight train when I realised that I'm doing a launch for a business program at the moment, and I've got a 6-week launch period that literally started last week.
Oh no, that's timing.
Through at all. So it's going to be fun, Laura. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, juggling all the launch stuff. Yeah, trying to post things on your phone whilst, navigating.
Trying to be a present parent while running a business that's run off your phone is not easy. The amount of times that I have to say, look, guys, I'm working. I'm not just on social media. Or, I mean, obviously, Oliver doesn't know the difference. He just sees that I'm on my phone. So as soon as he comes in the room, to be fair, and my husband will back me up for this. I'm not just saying this for the purpose of the podcast. If he comes in, I practically launch my phone and I try and move my phone as far away from me as I can, because there is nothing worse. I've seen it before where Dale's just answering a coaching call, like a message from one of the other coaches. And Ollie will come up to him and the phone's in front and he's in the middle of just replying something, and it kind of stays with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, but I do try and just launch it as much as possible.
Yeah. Good for you, because it's really hard to do that. I sometimes see it even with my husband. He'll be doing something on his phone. And to be fair, he's not a huge phone. He doesn't really use social media that much, but he might be doing something that he's in the middle of doing. And I really hate seeing one of my kids' little faces trying to communicate with him when he's like that. I'm like, oh, let's just, so I have to be mindful. I'm like, can you put your phone down? And so I know what that's like. Okay, fab. So you've got, a bit of an age gap there, but I guess you're not in the thick of the early years, and that's often, you bit with trying to juggle when you've got really small.
Completely. Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine running a business from home. I can't imagine running a business from home with little ones. But the job that I had, so I was in corporate until January, and most of the time, and as will be the case for a lot of people, we worked from home whilst running a team, lots of responsibility, and especially during COVID, I didn't get furloughed. I wasn't allowed to be furloughed, which is fine. But we had Ollie at home. He was only 2, so I do remember that. And it was very, very difficult. At least when you're running your own business, at least you can manage your own diary as best you can.
That's the best thing about it, isn't it? Just knowing you've got that flex. So let's talk a little bit about your journey with Sober Flourish. So you run such an amazing program. You've got your 100-day program and you've got your mentorship. You've got a few offerings, haven't you, which are just awesome for women. And I'd love to hear a bit more about that. But can we rewind and go back to what you were doing in corporate and how Sober Flourish came about?
Yeah, so I've always been a corporate girl. Ever since I started taking my career seriously, I was like, this is the space I want to be in. It was online, it was digital, it was I was actually a specialist in paid advertising, like PPC with Google many, many moons ago. And then always stayed in that space, but had this mindset that I just wanted to keep climbing the corporate ladder. That was all I ever really saw for myself. So more recently, my last role was working for the UK's leading gifting provider. And I was a senior digital marketing product manager, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Kind of thinking user experience, web development, overseeing teams for design and marketing and that sort of thing. And I really, really enjoyed it. And up until stopping drinking, I thought that that was what I was always going to do. I thought that I was kind of living out this dream that I'd always had. And when I stopped drinking, that process that I went through that resulted in me starting to coach other women and help other women remove alcohol from their lives, that was what was lighting me up. That's where I realized, actually, I think I might have found my purpose, my passion. And actually it was very confronting, because it was the polar opposite to what I thought that I was here to do, and that I was very good at and very experienced in. So when I started to kind of, maybe probably around the 6-month mark, started to really question, is the corporate world for me? Is this really what I want to do? Now, when I stopped drinking, I used Instagram as a bit of a digital journal to kind of document the process and document what I was doing. I'm very much one of those, like, if I was ever doing a Slimming World diet or something, I would have a Slimming World account. People joke now I must have had 10 different Instagram accounts to document my weight loss journey over the last 400 years. So I had an account, and I called it Sober Flourish. And during that process, women would reach out and they would sort of say, oh my God, me too. So I would share something about waking up with anxiety at 3 a.m. and not missing that, and the joys of sobriety, things that I was finding, things that were shifting and changing about being a more present parent, a better partner, all this sort of stuff. And women were looking at it and they were reaching out to say, I can see myself in your story. I thought it was just me. And then we would have a chat in the inbox. And by this point, I was not coaching. I didn't have any digital programs or anything like that. So for a good few months, it was voice notes, messaging, just sharing experiences between us. And then I would sort of get a message back from somebody a couple of months later. I've not drank since our conversation. And it was just, it felt incredible. So I can't remember how far along the journey I had this idea, but to get myself on the journey of becoming alcohol free, I set myself a 100 days challenge.
Yeah.
So I had the idea of creating that version for other women.
Right.
Because 3 years ago, so I'm going to be 3 years alcohol free at the end of next month. So 3 years ago, the Instagram space and sobriety just wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a thing that you could be loud and proud about. There was still a hell of a lot, and there still is in some respects, a lot of stigma around it. So back then, it was quite hard to gather the education, the resources to find what I needed, I think, to make it easy. I found it really bloody hard. There were hardly any alcohol-free options back then. So I thought, you know what, if I can pull together the things that have helped me on this journey and put them into a challenge/program, I think that this is really going to help other women, because I'm having these conversations all day, every day with so many women. What if I create a space and also bolt on a community so that we don't feel on our own, so that we can go to a safe space and feel supported, where there's no judgment of other women that are in a similar situation to us? And that was where the 100 Days to Flourish was born. Throughout that process, I then had this, I feel like I had this moral obligation to become qualified. Again, there was no intention again to be a coach at all. It was just so that I was in the best possible space that I could be if people needed to come to me for help. Now, I specialise and work with women in the grey area, which is a humongous scale, from people that don't drink to people that are what they would deem themselves as alcoholics.
Yeah.
And so I would have people that would come into my inbox and I would have chats, and there would be scary conversations. And in that, I'm not qualified. I was not qualified to have those chats, to even spot someone that needed to be referred, that
Yeah.
needed that deep help, needed to be referred to a doctor, to go and make sure they got a supportive community rather than just chatting to a stranger on the internet. That's just not what I wanted to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I bet that felt like a lot of responsibility as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when, and it was always where children were involved. That was always the red flag for me, where there was usually a single mom and she's at home responsible for children. And what she's telling me is that she's drinking late at night and she's passing out, and then she's waking up and she's mustering through the school run in the morning. Now, in that scenario there, that is a referral case. Now, I was just a woman on the internet sharing my experience being alcohol free. So I wanted to make sure that I was qualified, and the qualification that I chose to do did a specialism in alcohol free coaching, and how to spot that. What are the numbers? What are the websites? Who as a person can I refer them to? Who can I talk to? And to make sure that I'd got somebody to chat to in that scenario too. So I got qualified and then fell in love with the coaching process, completely head over heels in love with it, and started coaching one-to-one, which obviously then brought a whole new layer to my 100 Days to Flourish program as well. It enabled me to do group coaching as opposed to just having a bit of a chat every week, a bit of an accountability call and getting guest expert speakers in. And then I was doing all of this while still working full time.
That's incredible. Like managerial level role with all of this. I can't imagine how much you were dedicated, like how much of your time was spent on all of it.
I was just so passionate about it.
Yeah. Good for
It's
you.
really interesting, and we should probably timestamp this because I want to come back to this about when we start talking about the business coaching, because I would be sat at the end of the day, as soon as Ollie had gone to bed, I'd probably get an hour in coaching before Ollie had gone to bed. So Dale's here, thankfully. I would get an hour coaching in before Ollie would go to bed, and then I would be coaching when Ollie had gone to bed, working all day, sometimes trying to squeeze it in a weekend.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd have members that would join the 100 Days to Flourish program, and they're in Australia, so I'd then do a weekly call on a Sunday. So you can imagine the scenario of constantly pouring into everybody else's cup all of the time, but being fueled by this passion and this excitement that I was building something, which I think in business, women in business specifically, we get so caught up in that, oh my God, it's my baby, I love it, it doesn't feel like work, and then, oh my God, out of nowhere, shit, I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
Lots of plate spinning, lots and lots of plate spinning. Now, I did go down to part-time hours. Part-time in the corporate world, for me, I was still 4 days a week. That is not part-time.
No. And even when you do 4 days, your story is really similar to mine, actually, although my role was not as senior. I was an executive assistant, so I felt like it was sort of an easy role. But I did similar stuff to you. I was doing the coaching, the program that where I was learning from was in Australia, and it was all evenings, and it was all, and then I hit burnout. And the coaching process, I agree with you, is so much fun because it is like you get that reward that you're helping people and supporting them. But also, did you find when you started doing your coaching qualification that you were almost over analysing like your husband and stuff like that? Because I was noticing his language from my partner, and I was like, but what makes you think that that's true? And really questioning everything. And I think he just found me really annoying because I was like,
oh yeah, the rule, isn't there? It's like 101, don't coach friends or family. However, I will say that I remember quite significantly a year or so ago, Dale was in a bit of a slump. When you're kind of going through the motions, he'd changed his job, he'd come out of the Air Force, he was starting a new role, etc., just like all of us get to at some point. But I knew that he'd parked his fitness. So in the forces, the physical ed, they call it phys ed, would be a huge part of their day-to-day. And they could go out at any part of the day and go and train. Well, when he moved into industry side, that's not the same because it's corporate. It's not the same. They don't just allow you to have an extra hour a day to go and train on top of your lunch and whatever else, because it's not a big part of you maintaining your fitness. You don't need to, does it? Do you for your corporate role?
Yeah.
So I remember literally coaching him. We sat down. I said, look, let me go through the motions with you. And we did for a good hour. I coached him into prioritizing his fitness again, choosing something that he wanted to do, making sure that it was accessible, etc., and threw himself into CrossFit. Honestly, the transformation that I saw in there, so that is an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Other than I would never dare coach anybody else because, yes, I would have just very, very annoying.
Yeah, I was definitely that annoying person, and something similar happened to me with my husband had a big career change
Yeah.
pandemic, and I coached him through that, and it feels amazing. But yes, I
Yes.
agree, it is hard with, yeah, when you hear like the language that people are using around you, and you really want to question and support them, but actually you just have to kind of switch off from it sometimes, and yeah,
Yeah. The amount of times you want to scream, that's a limiting belief.
yeah,
That's a limiting belief.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
holding yourself back. The answers are within you.
Yeah,
No, I can relate to that, definitely.
yeah,
So yeah, so I dropped down to part-time in inverted commas and yeah, continued to build the business. Got to about October last year and I was frazzled,
yeah,
frazzled, pouring in. And I'm not someone that does things by halves either. I mean, a lot of us aren't, are we? Especially when we kind of got that sort of business mindset, a bit of a perfectionist, something that I'm working on. And I made the choice to have my notice in my corporate role. And I said to my partner, I said, look, we made the decision that once the business was generating enough money to cover what I'm earning from my corporate role, once it's doing that, we're comfy. And a lot of people make the jump a lot sooner, and I'm all for it too. But we just renovated the house, almost doubled the size of the house. So you can imagine the mortgage is a lot bigger. So we needed to make sure we got a real good safety net.
yeah,
So when I had that conversation, I said, look, do you know what? I've got that lost in the process of all of this that I'd actually forgotten that that was the goal, to actually be out of corporate by December. I didn't want to do another peak trading. So again, it was leading the gifting provider. So I was, it was very much Christmas, Mother's Day and Valentine's Day were the killers, absolute killers. So I said, I don't want to do another Christmas.
yeah,
So when this happened, I sort of said, look, let's look at how the business is doing. And I think when you're doing that alongside your normal role, you're not really into the revenue as much. It's just kind of something I'm doing. It's a bit of a passion project on the side. I can see it's healthy. It's all wonderful. I can invest a bit back here in mentorship and stuff like that, and it's fine.
yeah.
But I wasn't very close to that side of things. So we looked at it, it was fine. I was like, right, now's the time I'm going to have my notice in. So I did do in the October, and I was free by the January, free as a bird to do this full time.
That's amazing, and that's only January this year.
Only January this year. The business is literally turning 2 on the 31st of this month.
Yeah, it's incredible because I know the business is doing really well. And we were just chatting before we started recording, and I think it's amazing what you've achieved in such a short time. So yeah, good for you. That's just something to celebrate. And it's so much of that really resonates with me as well, because similar time of the year last year, I finished my work and went all in with my business. And yeah, it's really hard finding the balance with putting all your eggs into one basket, but making sure you don't burn out, and trying to pick the hours of the day or the days of the week that you wish to work and have the boundaries in place. And yeah, it's all a learning curve, isn't it?
Completely. Yeah. So then moving from there, that has evolved again very, very quickly. And that during the coaching process, I realized there's a hell of a lot of other sober coaches, aspiring sober coaches, that had become alcohol free, that had changed their own life, that wanted to help other people, but didn't have a clue how to create an online business. They didn't know how to show up online. They were petrified of showing up online. They didn't even want to have a social media account. They didn't know where to start. So I kind of put all of my experience in that field, along with the experience of doing it myself and my alcohol-free journey, all together. And now I am a business coach for aspiring sober coaches, which is amazing.
That's fab, because I knew that you did the business coaching, but I actually didn't realize it was for aspiring sober coaches. I thought it was for any female founder.
Well, this is the thing. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to become a business coach, and this is no disrespect to anybody that's listening that is a business coach, I think that that is such a humongous industry.
Yeah.
That potentially, if I kind of say that that's what I am, I'm going to be a drop in the ocean. Whereas I want to keep it true and authentic to me at all times, where I can really add the best amount of value. And for me to add the best amount of value has always been from experience, from personal experience. So it just made perfect sense. Yeah. And equally, this market is exploding. It is absolutely exploding. And I want people to, I think as well, when people are alcohol free, if they're going to a business mentor, they understand the importance to have somebody that has consistent mental clarity themselves, dare I say it.
Yeah.
So it does kind of make you stand out a little bit when it's an alcohol-free coach that's looking for someone to work with.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, there's so many different niches. And I think that what's lovely about that is all of you are going to be responsible for improving so many family lives. And that's what's great. It's like, if you look at the bigger picture, you're kind of saving lives. Like, I know that sounds dramatic, but you're going to be helping so many families between you and those other coaches. So that's just lovely, a lovely way to think about it, isn't it?
And it does sound extreme, but again, if you think about it, I'd say the biggest proportion of people that do come into the program are mums. They are stressed, they are burnt out. Sometimes I would say there's a high proportion of single mums in there as well. We're only ever a few decisions away from something awful happening where alcohol's concerned. It's the number one thing that people lean on when they are stressed, to help all of these perceived benefits that aren't necessarily true, but we are conditioned to believe that that's what we need to use to handle stress, to help us sleep, to drown out the noise of the day when we've got difficult kids or difficult circumstances, etc. So if we can work with women, which again I do, to help them even just have a healthy relationship. Personally, I'm not an avid believer that people can moderate you either. If you're starting from a place where you can't moderate, I don't believe it's a thing. It's only a matter of time. Again, people will shoot me down for that, but that's from my lived experience and that's from the hundreds of women I work with. It is a circle. It's a process. We're going around and around, and then one day it will just click. But moderation, personally, I think that is a myth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does sound dramatic about saving lives and transforming lives, etc. But that is literally what it is about. And the one-to-one clients that I work with now, that's the beauty of all of it. And that's what I said to you about stamping it in earlier, is that they are creating, not only just creating businesses that feel true to them, so they have their freedom, so they can be with their families, etc. But they are creating independent businesses, so they're not blueprints of anybody else. So we've got specializing in midlife mums, walking coaching. So we're providing now different methods of coaching that's accessible to mums all different stages of motherhood.
Oh, that's fun.
It is. It's incredible. And the scary thing is, with a new industry, anybody can call themselves a coach. Anybody can be charging thousands of pounds, and anybody can do it without being qualified. So I feel like I'm doing my bit where I'm giving back again. And I will always, the clients I have now, we had one in the intake last time that wasn't qualified. She has the intention of being qualified, but I've walked her through that process and referred her back to the same coach that I had, because I'm an avid believer that this is not trying to stop people from eating a cake at a weekend. This is a substance that can have very severe negative impacts on family dynamics, on relationship dynamics, on our relationship with ourselves. So if we can make sure that coaches are seeking decent qualifications, and then we can go out there and we can provide all of these options.
Yeah, I love that. And I was going to actually ask you about like the midlife. I'm fascinated by that stage of life and how that's affected, how the alcohol is affecting. I know it affects our cycle anyway, whatever age you are. You don't have to be midlife to know that you're going to have a worse hangover when you're on your period, because I definitely remember being hungover, being on my period and just feeling 10 times worse than when I wasn't on my period. So I know that there's like science behind that. I can't quote what that is. But yeah, sort of going into this phase of life where hormones are shifting, do you kind of notice that a lot of those women are struggling more, or that it's
God, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I find that one woman jumps to mind because she shares it quite openly in the group. She's been in there for quite a long time, actually. Was that she was struggling so bad with her menopausal symptoms, and then when she stopped drinking, there's two elements to it. So there are women that have all the menopausal symptoms or the perimenopausal symptoms, and they stop drinking and they are eradicated. So the anxiety that comes with it, the restlessness, the sleeplessness, etc., and it completely goes. So that it was linked to the alcohol. It wasn't actually it wasn't perimenopause. That's just where they thought, because it's always the last thing we address. We think it's something else, and we're almost absolutely certain we're not going to look at alcohol as the reason behind it. So anyway, they remove the alcohol and then those symptoms go. More often than not, though, what happens is you remove the alcohol and the symptoms remain. But now you know, because it's not alcohol that is causing that, you can then go on to go and get the medication that you need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I'd say 99, that's not true. I'd probably say 75% of the women that come through the doors are in perimenopause, because it's just, they just are, they can't function. Yeah. Even after a couple of glasses of wine now, the amount that they can tolerate is so much smaller.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding.
It does vary. It does vary.
Yeah.
Like I said to you, it's a grey area. The scale is gigantic.
Yeah, and I am not a big drinker, right? So I'm going to be really open. I don't drink that much. I could easily be. My husband says to our friends, "Oh, Laura's pretty much teetotal," because since having kids, I have found where I've wanted to be the best parent I can possibly be, and knowing that I'm quite a highly sensitive person, when I'm hungover, I am just no good to anyone. I can't function. I want to spend the day in bed. I don't want to talk to. I'm not social, and I just can't cope. And that's even after a couple of drinks. But I feel like that, yeah, these days when I do have like one drink on a Friday, and it really isn't every week either, but if I do have one or two, I really do feel like crap the next day. And I'll say to my kids, look, I'm just going to go and have a rest and have a little nap. And
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my Saturdays feeling like I need to have a nap when I can be doing other stuff and hanging out with the kids. So, yeah. And I know it's different for everyone, but I think I guess maybe you cover this in your program, but like, knowing that different people's traits and like sensory preferences and that kind of thing. Because as a sensitive person, I do feel like I'm probably the only one in my friendship group that really, I don't know, like I seem to struggle more with it. It's weird. And I think it's because, yeah, I don't know, I feel like I've got to go and have that rest. Otherwise, I'll be very irritable, basically. Oh,
I
yeah.
think it depends. It's so it changes so much from person to person, because you might differ from your friends because you value being fully present.
Yeah,
If
true.
you imagine you're in a group of, say, 6 people and you're the only one that actually only has a drink once every other week, you're not used to that either. So the majority of the time, you're used to being able to fully function and have that consistent mental clarity to stick to the things that you said you're going to do, keep the trust and the promises to yourself, because you don't drink a lot.
That's a really good point, actually. It probably is because my body's not used to
It's
it.
not the norm for you. It's
Yeah.
absolutely not the norm for you.
Yeah, that's true.
But back to what you were saying a moment ago around being in perimenopause and the hormonal shifts, does it impact women a lot? Yes, it absolutely does. 100%. We have a couple of doctors that come in every quarter from the Lifestyle Health Clinic. They're both two practicing GPs, and they come in and they'll pick a different topic, and they will often cover the hormonal impacts and the links to estrogen levels, the hangovers and the links to estrogen levels. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I have read about it, and I would love to hear what they have to say, because that's what interests me. Because when you go out drinking with mates, or have a mum's weekend away or whatever, you just, no one really knows, or it's not something that comes up, is it? But it's something that I have now, in the last year or so, I'd say, have started saying to my friends, look, can we do a weekend where it's like a wellness kind of weekend, where we go to a spa and do this? Because we don't see each other very often. We all live in different parts of the country. And so when we do, we're uni mates, and uni was all about drinking, eating shit, and just having fun. But I'm so over that period of my life. And I think when you are with those people, you're subconsciously wanting to do the same things that you used to do, when really it's harder to keep up with that. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. You just long to be able to go for a coffee and a cake, or you just long for one of your friends to say, oh, shall we meet for a walk? Instead of, let's go out, let's go into the city. No, I don't want to go out drinking, thank you. Let's do wholesome. That would be grand.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're planning one for September, and thankfully they're totally up for this, but I was like, can we have a really nice meal, like a decent splash out on what we would have spent on the booze, spend money on the meal, and then go and have maybe a hike, and then like a wellness thing, like a spa. And I'm like, that's just right up my street these days. So do you find everything we do, like 95% of what we do, is governed by our subconscious? And so do you find it's very hard to, in the program, I imagine you've got the 100 days. Is it quite hard for a lot of people to really shift, or for others, is it a lot easier? Because I worked for a beer company for 7 years, and the whole culture was obviously like, we used to get free booze. So my kind of like programming is like, beer, it means fun. And, you're raised to think that like alcohol equals social fun times and good laughs with friends and stuff. But yeah, it can be really hard to kind of unlearn that. So I imagine that's a big part of the program. Yeah,
it's deeply, deeply, deeply ingrained.
Yeah,
in every single woman that comes through the door. But I see it as a level of, oh gosh, without trying to get too woo or whatever, it's like a level of, it's like a conscious, it's like almost like an awareness, an awakening, and it's a process. People that start as I was, and when I did my 100 Days to Flourish initially, it wasn't because I thought I got a problematic relationship with drinking. It's because I was 6 stone overweight. And previously, the only way I could lose weight was when I took breaks from drinking. So that was how mine started.
Yeah.
It was only going through that process did I realize, oh my God, there's so many red flags in the way that I drink and in my relationship with alcohol. Did I then think, oh my God, this is actually a lot bigger than I initially thought? But it depends on what stage people are at. Some people come completely closed mind. They want to just do a challenge. This is why I call it a program/challenge, so that it appeals to both people at both of those, well, not both of those stages, but at the differing stages of becoming alcohol free. Because and I don't think it's an age thing. There's some people that come into the program that are like 32 potentially, but they've been trying to do this because, well, they've been trying to stop drinking for years. So they're further along the process than somebody that might come in at, say, late 50s that is sick of waking up or had an almighty blowout with a sister at a wedding or something like that, that thinks, oh my God, this has got bad. This is too bad. I'm going to take a break. So it varies so much at what stage they're at when they come into the program. But I have recently dared to start talking about our beliefs and our subconscious mind, because I know full well that it will turn women off in the group because they're just not there, and that's okay. But it's about time that I started to raise the awareness that until your subconscious mind catches up with your conscious mind, you are always going to have an outdated belief system. And whilst that outdated belief system believes that you need it to sleep, need it to socialize, to give you confidence, to have fun when you're lonely, that helps with stress, all of this bullshit that we're fed, especially by the media, especially heavily marketed to by the media as women in midlife specifically. Until we can unpick that and rewire that thought process, you're always going to go back.
Yeah.
So I've created some meditation tracks in there at the moment to that a morning affirmation first thing, when we're in that sort of meditative brainwave first thing, and then just as they're going to sleep. And and I would like to say it's not as woo-woo as it sounds, but it is. It's a subconscious reprogramming track that they listen to as they're falling asleep. And I do it. I've recorded it. But it's just, I'm trying to get in there and trying to raise their awareness that this is more deep-rooted than you think. It's not a flipping willpower issue. It's a belief issue, and it's values and beliefs that we have inherited from everybody else throughout the course of our lives when it comes to alcohol, that it is needed. It's needed, and it has such a big priority, a big place. It's on a pedestal to us. So yeah.
Yes.
On a waffle there, but there we are.
No, that's fab. And I saw your website and I noticed that you've got like the free meditation, and I think that's such a great idea. Obviously, as someone who works with the subconscious mind, I think that's the best idea, because like you said, it's you're kind of speaking to when their brain waves are at that slower frequency, they're going to be taking it all into their subconscious. I love that you've done that.
And I do know as well, Laura, as soon as I start to explain that as well, when I go into the rationale behind it, there are open eyes. Like, you kind of think that you can't teach, I don't want to say an old dog new tricks, because none of them would be grateful for me calling them old dogs at all. But do you know what I mean? Where they're kind of that awareness. And the same with me when I learned this stuff. It wasn't years ago.
Yeah.
So how have we gone this long without realizing this? How do we do this until somebody tells us?
Totally. And it is frustrating that the beliefs thing, and like having those ingrained beliefs, they're so embedded. It is frustrating that it's deemed as woo-woo when you want to work with the subconscious mind, because it's not. And you like the top 1%, all the CEOs, sports stars, people who are at the top of their game, they hire hypnotherapists for a reason. And it's quite frustrating that people still view it as woo-woo, because it is actually something it can sort of create change quite quickly. I was going to ask about your retreats, because I know you did a retreat in the last couple of months or so. I remember seeing like pictures on your Instagram, and it looks so good. Tell us about what you do on your retreat days.
So I had a retreat day in September last year. God, it seems a lot further along ago than that. And then I had my weekend retreat in May, just gone, and it was just gorgeous. Gorgeous, energetically draining as the space holder. Very, very draining, because you just give your all. And it was gorgeous. We had breath work, sound healing, cacao ceremony. I ran group coaching. We had somebody else that came in and did some group coaching, yoga. The food was done by a lady that lives locally to us, but caters for this retreat venue. We're all in geodomes in the farmland in the Lincolnshire countryside.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The food was all homegrown, plant-based. Now, I'm not plant-based, but if somebody could feed me plant-based all day, that's probably what I would opt for. So, yeah, it was just gorgeous. I can't think of another way to really explain it. And the shifts that the women felt, I don't think they were expecting to feel such deep movement coming out of that. I think they thought they were just going to come for like a relaxing weekend and kind of go with the flow, but there was a lot of internal work, a lot of sort of identity shifting work. We were walking. It was just beautiful, really, really gorgeous. I'd love to say that I'm chomping at the bit to organise another one. I obviously will do another one because I can't help myself, but thought, goodness me, they were a bit full on. But
yeah, facilitating something like that is really tiring. I've not done it, but I would like to at some stage for my clients. But yeah, it's very draining, isn't it, doing something like that? The pictures of the food, the alcohol-free drinks and everything looked so good. I was like, I wish I was there.
It was fab. Yeah, the goodie bags are great because people wanted to contribute towards that as well, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would recommend is make sure that you've got a couple of days to yourself, literally diary empty as much as you can.
Yes. Yeah.
I never felt anything like that. Energetically, it was something I've never experienced before.
Yes.
I needed silence.
I can imagine. Yeah, I know I would probably need a good 4 days to recover from something like that in a good way. I was going to ask you as well about, you mentioned that you went into your sober journey because you wanted to lose weight. And I've seen the before and afters. It's so incredible what you've done and how you've shifted things in your life. And clearly the health benefits are just awesome. But what else can you talk about from your personal experience? Has it literally been life-changing in every sense of the word? Because it seems like it has been.
Yeah. It genuinely has. Yeah. It's not an element of my life that has not got better. Now, my start point, I wasn't waking up in the morning and pouring vodka on my cornflakes. I wasn't sneaking alcohol whilst I was ironing my clothes. That wasn't as extreme as it got. I was a typical weekend drinker.
Yeah.
But when I wasn't drinking, I would be so excited about that night that I'd given myself permission that aligned with the rules that I'd set around drinking, that I could have a drink. I would wake up on a Friday because that was an okay day. The Thursday was a little bit touch and go, like, you're not sticking to the weekend. But a Friday, genuine excitement and butterflies in the pit of my stomach because I could have a drink at night. Yeah. And that wasn't excitement because, I can numb out and I can do whatever. It was so intrinsically linked with reward for me. This is my night. This is my night. Like now, for example, I would be this excited if Dale and I were going away for the weekend.
Yeah.
Obviously with the children, obviously, our darling angels. I would get that sort of sense of excitement for that. But for me, it was wine. God, I could not wait for it. I could not wait for it. But that, I would say, on a bad week, I would drink Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now I'm not talking anymore. And again, there'll be people that listen, Jesus Christ, it's loads. But I would never drink any more than a bottle on the Friday, the Saturday, on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I would promise myself every single Friday going into the weekend that I'll drink just tonight, but I can't wake up on Monday morning with a hangover. I can guarantee you every single Monday morning going into weekly trade reporting that I would have a hangover of death, because although I'd sit there and have a bottle of wine a night, we'd have had a few pints in the pub or a few cans whilst we're doing the gardening or something like that. Or if we'd been at families, we'd have had a couple of beers or a couple of glasses or something like that. It's never just that. Always waking up on a Monday morning. But anyway, what I'm getting at there is that I wasn't a full-blown daily heavy drinker for this transformation to have worked or to have happened. That was my start point. Mainly weekend drinking. But in removing that, I was allowing myself that period of time to detox mentally and physically, but having that mental clarity, because I'd always had health and fitness goals. But all week I'd be an angel and I'd work with PTs, and at the weekend I would literally just drink and eat crisps. I used to get excited when Dale would bugger off to bed so I could sit like Pac-Man, wading myself through these crisps. I could always remember the screech in the morning. Who was eating all my pack up for the weekend? It was me, like bloody Augustus Gloop, sat there troughing through all these bloody crisps.
I love crisps when I'm drunk. Crisps are good when you're drunk. But
always. Crisps all day, every day. I love crisps too.
Yeah, I do.
But yeah, it did. There was not a single area of my life that did not get better. I am, without a doubt, a much more present and patient mum,
Mm.
or patient being the emphasis,
Yeah.
because Ollie is, what do they say? Spirited.
Spirited child.
Spirited child. But I'm able to be present for him, and he is a full on kid, and he isn't the same as his bro, and that's fine.
Mm.
But he does need a bit more oomph from you. He wants a bit more of your attention, and that's cool because I can give it now. I do worry if I'd carried on drinking like I was doing, and what it would be like with him, how he is. Because he can sense the energy's off. He can sense when you're not really in the mood. And
Yeah.
I wasn't really in the mood when he was tiny. So parenting's improved. A lot of the women I work with are petrified that their relationship's going to get worse with their partner when they start drinking.
Yes. Oh, that's a really good point that
Yeah.
actually I'd love to talk about. Yeah, tell us a
A
bit.
lot of women are worried about that, as was I, because Dale and I, we initially got together when I was 15. He was in the forces. He was actually at college the first time around, but then he was in the forces. We got back together a couple of times, never ended on bad terms, but the timing was just never quite right. But we'd always been each other's drinking buddies, always. Families were big drinkers. Every occasion, every pickup of the kids from staying over at Grandma and Granddad's was an excuse for a piss up. Everything was always around booze. So I was really worried about that. And actually what's happened is, through me being as open and honest and dragging the poor guy along for every emotion, every thought that's popped through my little head, has meant that we've got stronger and stronger and stronger. Again, we're not perfect. My life's got better, but it's not become perfect. We've been together. We worked out, we've actually been together nearly 18 years, which is just, it's still. Anyway, so it was a huge part, but our relationship's improved. We get on better. There's not as much misunderstanding. I'm not causing arguments because I'm pissed. That's
That's a big one. Does he still drink, or is he?
in fact, if you'd have asked me that 3 months ago, I would have said very, very occasionally. But he actually doesn't now. He will drink an alcohol-free drink, then pick an alcoholic drink. He just doesn't get it now.
Yeah.
I've never asked him to. I've never ever expressed that I would like him to not drink. It's just been that ripple effect. It's been nearly 3 years now, and that's become the byproduct. Better employee. I was able to have that conversation with my boss at the time and say, I want a pay rise. I'm working too hard for what I'm getting paid. This is my job description. I'm doing a hell of a lot more than what you're paying me for. And I had the confidence to actually go and have that conversation, rather than having the conversation, going into that meeting ropey because I'd had a drink the night before, because I was nervous about that chat I was going to have with her. It's seeped into everyone. I don't want to be this sober person that's banging the drum about sobriety is amazing, but it actually is.
But it is
life changer.
Yeah, and I'm someone who is not entirely sober, but I am someone that also really rarely drinks, and I know the difference, and I can see myself in the next year 100% becoming fully sober. I just know that that's probably the path I'll take, because I don't like, and I'm also very snobby about what drinks I choose to drink.
It has to be like that.
Yeah, I've got to the stage where I'm like, I don't want Prosecco. I would rather have champagne because it doesn't make me feel quite as shit the next day. I'd rather spend more. But then I come across as like this snobby cow, because other people are like, oh no, I'm just going to get some Prosecco or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it's just, yeah. I don't know what people think of me, but my husband has always been quite a big drinker. He will just really down quite a lot. He'll put a lot away, and then it worries me sometimes. Like maybe once or twice a year, he'll have a big blowout, and he did it a couple of weeks ago, and it fills me with anxiety, because I'm like, what are you doing? Are you going to fall down the stairs? At what time are you going to be home? And my mum had quite a bad relationship with alcohol, where she didn't drink for 20 years. And then when my parents got divorced, she binge drank, but in a really, really unhealthy way. And we found her like on the floor in the toilet once. And so many really horrible things happened in quite a short period of time, because, divorce. She was basically having a bit of a, nervous breakdown, I think, looking back. But that's why it fills me with anxiety when people around my loved ones are going through like bingey kind of behaviours, because I'm like, I don't feel safe in my nervous system when you're like that. And I, as the protector of the family, I don't want you acting like that. So we've had these really open conversations recently where I'm like, look, I would happily be fully teetotal, but you need to support that, because every now and then there'll be comments like, oh, but it's fun though, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, but you can have fun without it. You can.
It is, and it is hard on kind of on that theme of being able to witness other people that are drinking. Something that's coming through a lot at the moment with the women in the program is that they've got children of an age that they're starting to drink. So they've removed alcohol from their lives, but now they've got the kids that are just starting to drink, and how they're navigating that. That is something that's, again, it just depends because what wave of women kind of come through the program and what stages they're at and what stage they're, but yeah, it's watching and witnessing and not judging and supporting, etc. But you do, when you don't drink, you're aware, you can see it. You can see what other people can't see.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, just to something else that came up for me there when I was talking about the children being of a certain age, something else that comes through a lot for the women that have children is that shame, an overwhelming sense of, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. Because of, and to take it away just from my transformation, they notice such a shift and such a movement in how they're showing up in their life, that they have this wave of shit. I have spent years of being a mother in a way that I didn't think was too extreme or embarrassing or anything like that. But the comparison to who I am today versus where I was before, they have an overwhelming sense of guilt and frustration with themselves. So a lot of the work that we have to do is around that self-compassion and forgiveness, that we literally were just doing the best with the tools that we had at the time.
Yeah.
And although you might think, oh my God, I've spent the first 20 years of their lives like that, and they have seen me drunk and there have been occasions, etc., at least you're doing it now. At least you're making that change now.
Yes, and that is the best way to look at it, isn't it? It's like, imagine if you didn't do any of this and you were 60 and then you had the realization.
Yeah. And there are ladies in there that feel that way. They've got grown kids and their grown kids are absolutely elated that they don't drink anymore, but they have their entire childhood. Those kids have left home now. So they have that additional layer on top, is how do I now, in the minimum time that we actually spend together, because they're off doing this, that and the other, how do I repair that? And it's a lot. And this is why the work I do is so important, because if I can get in there with them at the earlier stages to prevent that and raise that awareness that this doesn't have to be the path, just because everybody tells you that it's what we should be doing, it's what we're made to feel like we should be doing, and that we feel stupid, made to feel stupid if we decide we don't want to do it. There is a different path, and I can help you, I promise.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine it just feels like real kind of therapeutic, deep work sometimes.
It really is, especially because there's so many. I mean, there's over 100 women in there at any given time because of the 3-month kind of cycle. It's the adapting to the different stages and just making sure that everybody has what they need. But equally, it's also a very accessible price point. So it's not as if it's thousands of pounds, and there's a certain type of lady that goes in there that can afford that, and their life circumstances are all the same. It's very accessible to anybody who needs it.
Can you just tell us a bit more about that? Because I've seen the price and I know a little bit about the programme. So just explain, I know we've gone over time a little bit. Yeah, explain a little bit about the 100 Days to Flourish programme. And
okay, so this month it's been my birthday and it's also Sober Flourish's birthday. There is a discount, which is the biggest discount I've ever put on it. So it's now £150 for the 100 days. The normal price is £195, which is less than £2 for the entire time. So very cheap.
Good value.
It's rough cost of about a bottle of wine a week, something like that. Anyway, so included in that program, that's full access for 100 days. You have access to all of the previous guests that we've had in there, a recording from you.
Yes, hypnosis from me, yeah.
There's all sorts, absolutely covering a whole manner of different topics around emotional eating, which is a big problem for ladies when they stop drinking. There's a lot of self-discovery work. I run a lot of expressive writing sessions, identity work, that sort of thing, future self coaching, everything that I watched or listened to help me become alcohol free, the kind of things that altered my brain chemistry. So the health implications really like lit a spark in me. There's trackers, there's chat threads, there's meetups, there's just all sorts. A lot of the feedback I get when people generally just sign up is, I don't know where to start. There's so much information in there. But yeah,
can they just pick and choose? Is it up to them to just self-paced if they want to do it? Yeah,
it's self-paced. Yeah,
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I say, the majority of people that are in there are busy moms, so
yeah,
they don't want to feel like they've got to do this on this date, because if they fall behind, we're human, right? We just think sod it.
Yeah.
So it's all self-paced.
Brilliant. That sounds so nice, and such a safe container as well, because I think it's a really lovely thing to have a community around you that's just all female, and nothing against men, but we sort of miss that sisterhood these days. We would have had that years ago, and so to have that sense of a safe community must be really lovely. Okay, I'm going to ask you one final question. I feel like there's so much more I want to ask you about it, but I'm not going to take up the rest of your day. Maybe you'll have to come back on in the future or something.
No, I would do. Of course I would.
The final question, which it's usually between two questions, and the one I'm going to ask you is, if you could go back and speak to 6-year-old Jodi today, what advice would you give her?
I would tell her to keep shining, that she's not too much, and to believe in herself.
Oh, that's really nice. Is that something that you were fed, like messaging you were fed that you were too much when you were young?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is surfaced very recently through a lot of healing work that I've been doing with my mentor around that kind of keeping yourself small and not using your voice. And there's a lot of things that have been coming up for me when I've been doing my human design, all around that sort of undefined throat chakra, and all of that sort of
Yeah.
stuff around the talking and the presenting. And it's all kind of this big crescendo just recently. Oh, now I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is really bizarre. You know, at the beginning of this recording, I wanted to ask you, I don't know why, I felt called to ask you what your human design was. And my brain was like, don't ask her that. It's probably something she hasn't got. And now I'm intrigued. Can you tell me?
I'm a generator.
Okay. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Everything you've done in your business,
Yeah.
I'm a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
So yeah, which does make everything that I've ever put on my vision boards and that I've wanted to do in my life since the age of 16 when I started doing like energetics work, I've pretty much achieved all of it in
Incredible.
maybe not in the time scales that I've wanted to, because I like to put pressure on myself. But yeah, I'm definitely a manifesting generator to a T. So
one of the life-changing things that I've done, and that was only probably in the last 4 months that I've actually done that. I actually had a lady called Becky come into the 100 Days to Flourish to talk about human design over a year ago. I had no idea what it was. Dipped in and out, listened to the presentation, didn't take anything really away from it, didn't really get it, didn't really understand it. And then all of a sudden it kind of smacked me in the face. So I went back to her, I was like, can you do my chart for me? It was probably only 4 weeks ago, not 4 months ago.
yeah.
But the things that were coming up for me in there were just like, oh my days.
It's interesting, isn't
Makes
it?
sense now. Yeah.
Becky, what's her surname? Do you know her surname?
Yes, I do. It's Becky Lovett. She
Okay, yeah.
sound healing for my retreats and ceremonies, etc. She's fabulous.
I think I might know her from Instagram, but yeah.
She's just started doing human design for coaches and how they can incorporate into their coaching practice. So I am all over that, like a rat on a Mars bar. I am going to be bringing that in for my program that I'm launching without a doubt, because it helps. There's a client I have at the minute with one-to-one, knowing her human design and how she needs to listen to her body when she's making decisions has helped us no end, and how I need to articulate things to her and how I need to train her and how I need to engage with her. It's helped me unbelievably. And also in decisions in my own business, knowing that I get a visceral reaction all over tingles when I'm on the right path. That's it. It helps me make decisions.
I just find it fascinating.
There's another one I'm doing soon with my soul contract.
I've heard of this.
That fascinates me also.
Yeah. Is that more like astrology, or is that?
I don't know the basis behind it, but I know that it can kind of let you know kind of at what stage through incarnation you are.
Oh, I love all this. Yeah.
It's very, very
Yeah. No, I love all the woo-woo stuff. So yeah, I'm into it. Oh, Jodi, I could honestly chat to you all day, but I'll let you go. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing about your journey and all the work you do with your fabulous women. And yeah, if people want to find out where to find you, what should they look up?
So for the sobriety element of my business, it's at Sober Flourish on Instagram, or soberflourish.com is the website. Or for the business side of things, it is by Jodi Clark. So at by Jodi Clark on Instagram, or there is a website called jodiclark.co.uk.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jodi. Have a good rest of your day and a good summer as well.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye.